All right, guys, as promised, here is the island update. It's almost getting unrecognizable with the growth improvements in here. Is it where I want it to be? Absolutely not. Far from perfect. You're never really going to build the perfect plot, just to be honest with you. You can strive for it, though. Don't let that stop you. The better you can find ways to make your plot, go for it. But when you're standing in a plot like this, it's pretty easy to see what needs to be improved, what can be maybe where you want it, depending on what your soil test gives you. So like here, if I stuck my soil probe in this, it might tell me something different than what you're seeing over here. The rye looks weaker. It's not as robust as what you're seeing here. Matter of fact, this is actually greener than the rye that's over here. And then we green up again around this stump where I burned a lot of dead material here. So that is potash that I've created, which has definitely helped with the green color. There's many things you could take away from this. One is I still see a good enough improvement here that I am satisfied based on the budgets I have. Now, let's talk about the treatment that I did here with azomite. Okay, back here in the back is where I applied the heaviest return. So what are we looking for with that? Well, first off, I want larger, thicker cell structure in the plants. So if I'm not going to get that, then this was a total bust. But back here, I did do that. This is a much better sign that this ground is in better shape. Right, there's still going to be a major potassium shortage back here. There is pockets now of much better green. So see, this right here should give you hope that soil this bad can be changed. Just like back here in the back. Last year I finally had good returns here, and this time I'm seeing the same thing again. There is a buildup of better soil, more nutrition. This rye is so much better than what I had in here last time. This was very thin. If you remember last year's video, there's my oak tree I've cleaned up. But last year, this rye had fallen over itself. You remember that? Everything kind of matted down and died. I really didn't, it was so weak at the time that I really didn't really need to use the tiller. I passed it one time and it was done. My main food plot, you couldn't have done that with it. No way. It would have took 2, sometimes 3 attempts on really good years. Here, one pass, this stuff was dead. That's a great saver for gas and stuff, or diesel, but that tells me this soil is still in rough shape. So am I going to get the maximum return out of my deer? Absolutely not. But based on the nutrition I'm seeing as far as what's improving on this place, I feel more confident that this can help modify the bodies or antlers enough to see a difference in my deer. Mixing it with higher grade feed, which I am still working on. I've been putting it off since I've had to do the doctor's visits. And I will find somebody that will have that soybean I'm looking for, the roasted soybean. But like I said, this place is not near perfect. It has a long way to go. I do see that the understory, which is the stuff that I plant that grows up between the rye, because I create these layered food plots. This is really, really green. Okay, leaf sizes on these clovers, not where I want them. But this right here is actually a lot better look than what I was seeing last time. As weak as some of this is, I mean, you can literally see it. See how you can look through that? we have tonnage issues here. So a goal that you might want to keep in mind is I want better tonnage. Now, don't count the spring and summer in here. I'm talking about for your fall and winter for next year. This is a goal that I'm saying on this video to help remind me I need more tonnage, which means I need a thicker base of undergrowth amongst the rye. And look here, for the rye that grew along the edges and the clover, it is so much greener where it was sucking off this ash pile in here. Even here, right? That looks pretty good. It's darker. It's not nearly as mature because this is newer planted seed where I tried to kind of cover up this big old hole in here, but goal achieved. The nutrition level is better because of all the wood that I burned in here has returned nutrients to the soil. Now I have to build bacteria up because this can be considered a temporary boost. And when the bacteria is not building up, it's not supplying a continuous wave of good stuff. Now, without the bacteria, your plants can still grow, but it won't be nowhere near what you think it should be. So keep that in mind when you're trying to do food plots. You'll have to keep spending money on more fertilizer to make up for what bacteria is not doing. And my goal is to get away from that and let the bacteria do the work. Leaf sizes are looking better. My main food plot definitely gets bigger than this, but that's fine. I'm actually kind of satisfied with that. So I'm ready to try to push this to the next level. This chestnut tree is actually doing quite well. It actually looks really aggressive compared to last year. So let's see what happens with it. Maybe this year it will produce some chestnuts. It does have a boron treatment on it. And here's what happens when you do not cover and protect your chestnut trees. I'm telling you what, these things are very highly attractive to deer. Year round, they like to rub and destroy them, but they also want to eat every green leaf they can find on these guys. I would say, based on what I've seen here, this is more aggressive than young sprout maples. Like, I'm talking about when you cut a tree down and you get those new sprouts, they attack these trees harder. So there is something about the chestnut tree that is highly attractive. Even, well, that little guy down there didn't get too much damage, but this will sucker back. I ain't worried about it. He'll grow fine. Over here is one of the best ideas I've seen as far as when you're finding problems with space with tree roots like this. See how shallow and overgrown. I can't bring a tiller in here. The ground is hard as a rock right here. No pun intended with all the rocks here. So it's very difficult to get stuff to grow. You see how sparse it is. Even growth rates are really reduced. Once I get these stumps out right here, I think you're going to see more like that right over there in this area. It'll be quite a bit of an improvement for that area. But here, look at this, right? You're thinking, it's just a briar. Nah, look at that. I'm not getting hit. That's a thornless blackberry. There are no thorns at all on these guys. Zero. They were genetically made this way. Vast improvement to me on walking through here, because there's your standard wild growing briar. That hurts. Deer have a little bit more protection than a person does, but even with good clothing, certain briars can still penetrate that. Here, I don't have that problem. And I've also noticed that deer have been destroying these much harder than these briars right here. Any of those guys, they don't really hit them as much. This one, look at that, leaf gone, leaf gone. Up here, I saw some others I could have swore was taken off from here. This limb was broke, or actually this part here was chewed off by deer. That whole wooded thing right there was eaten off by deer. Same with this limb here. This was last year's browse. They're actually eating further back onto the woody parts of the plant because it's much easier for them. They don't have those thistles in their mouth, and I reduce the risk of, you know, a rare occasion where they can get an infection in their mouth if a briar was to stick in there and cause a problem. But this type of briar is briar-less. So these are absolutely perfect plants to add to your wood setting, to the edge of your plots. You know, anywhere that you have, hold on a second here, doing a little weed destruction. I don't need that spreading in here. But these guys can add fantastic browse. And yes, there is deficiencies here. So that is something I do note. There is calcium, some other things going on here. But it is growing rapidly, and added a new batch down here. So what my goal would be for something like this is plant it all through here. That way I have a good patch of it. Deer can walk through it. It won't impede them like normal briars do. And they will eat deeper into it. So if you're thinking about, let's say you've got a solid mat of briars from that tree to this tree, deer's going to take the easy route, and they're going to eat all along the edge of those briars. Very seldom will you see them cut through it. It's annoyance. It pokes them in the face. When they walk into that, it's still wide open as an option. So instead of eating the edge, they'll come through here and they can eat all of it. It's no different than planting a regular food plot. You don't have that briar restriction like you do with the others. Over here, here's you another thing to notice. You remember what I said about the feed? When it goes bad, I throw chunks of it out to create new soil. Look at how this clover has responded. This is mostly from that feed. This is definitely much better leaf sizes. Still can get better, but look at that. Trace Minerals is loaded in that feed. Trace Minerals is booming this part of the plot. Even around the trough, clover is growing taller because they do spill it out when they eat it. I threw some in here. You can see how that responded. All right, there's hope. There's an ugly looking cedar tree I'll have to get rid of. I threw it out over here. Big. Now these plants are still weak, so don't get me wrong. This is still weak, but the seed heads are bigger. Much better returns right there. So hopefully that can reseed itself, but I probably won't give it the chance based on my plans. But again, there's plenty of signs in this island that we have major league improvements. So I think what you're going to see is an improvement in the new mat that I will make this year. There's going to be other areas that are lagging behind, especially here and right over here. So with these voids, your soil production is going to be a whole lot slower than what you're building up here. Way faster in producing soil. So what is something that I kind of expect to happen in the spring and summer? This year, I believe the middle will do even better than it did last year. You're going to see improvements out through here. See how that's improving? This area here, if I really focus on it, throw out a lot of potassium here, I think you're going to see an improvement. But let the soil test help me get a good base to start from. And this time, because this tree is down, and any time this tree here, the second one, is going to come down too. It's going to be any day now. I can tell that things are starting to change with that tree, and I actually was up here when it was blowing hard winds, and I could hear it popping and cracking a little bit. So that's a warning sign that things are probably getting ready to happen. But more light in here, based on what I did with the improvements. I will be removing that top this week. I actually have more time to get things done now that the thyroid issue is kind of more grounded, and I can pace myself now and try to get back into a better rhythm. April 15th, burn bans, or not burn bans, but permits will be lifted, and I will be able to burn without permit. So I will start burning stumps. I don't want to wait until I till all this down. That's going to be a straw mat that could catch on fire. So I want to burn this while it's green. I know it will kill off some of the stuff I planted, but I'm willing to take that hit to get rid of these stumps in here. And that will help me with my new tiller big time. Also, as far as spring and summer down the road, I think that back half right there is going to perform better. Last time, I think the vetch got maybe 6 to 10 inches tall in places. Back toward the corner, it got about 2.5, 3 feet tall. That was the first real sign that something has started changing in the soil for the better. And now I'm starting to experience change across a lot of the island. Even this over here, I think that looks better, but it's going to be thin and weak like last year. Although the undergrowth, based on the feed I threw out here, has thickened up quite a bit. So if any of that clover survives the tilling, I'm only going to run over it one time. I'm absolutely fine with that. So I may have good pockets of clover in here again. All right, guys, so that's all I need to do for this part. A lot of stuff in the pipe. Planting day's coming very soon. Tilling day. Soil test. There's a lot of things I've been running through here, and I will provide you an update on the chestnut trees as well. So have a good one, guys, and hope you enjoy these videos.